If you think having $1 million in your retirement account means you are wealthy, you are not a millionaire. You are mathematically hallucinating. For 30 years, the financial entertainment complex has brainwashed the American middle class into believing that $1 million is the ultimate finish line. They tell you to hit the magic number, get your gold watch, and ride off into the sunset. But I am here to tell you that in today's macroeconomic reality, retiring with a flat $1 million leaves you exactly one bad market crash away from wearing a blue vest and checking receipts at the entrance of a big box store when you are 78 years old. The government loves that you feel safe at $1 million. It keeps you docile. Today, we are going to perform a brutal autopsy on the famous 4% rule and expose the silent assassin known as the sequence of returns risk. But you must watch this briefing until the very end, because I am going to give you the exact sniper blueprint, a step-by-step cash buffer system, to ensure you never run out of money before you run out of heartbeat. And now, once more time, welcome to the resistance. Let's look at Gray Guy. Gray Guy is 62 years old, and today he is popping a bottle of cheap champagne in his kitchen. He just logged into his Vanguard account and saw 7 digits for the first time in his life. $1 million. He feels like a king. He feels like he has finally beaten the financial matrix. He is celebrating a touchdown. But Gray Guy doesn't realize he is celebrating on the 50-yard line. He is suffering from a terminal psychological disease known as anchoring bias. You see, Gray Guy's definition of wealth was programmed into his brain by television in the 1990s. Back in 1995, $1 million was lifestyles of the rich and famous money. It meant a massive house in a gated community, 2 luxury cars, a boat, and never having to look at the price of a steak on a restaurant menu. Welcome to the present. Thanks to decades of reckless money printing, quantitative easing, and the invisible heist of inflation that we talked about in our previous briefings, the purchasing power of the US dollar has been absolutely decimated. Half of Gray Guy's wealth is a complete ghost. It exists on the digital screen of his smartphone, but it evaporates the moment he steps into a grocery store or a hospital. To have the exact same purchasing power that $1 million had 30 years ago, you would need over $2.2 million today. Let that sink in. The finish line was moved while you were running the marathon, and nobody bothered to tell you. You think you are wealthy, but mathematically you are just pre-poor? Actually, someone did tell you everything was fine. Let's introduce Chad, the friendly financial advisor. Chad wears a tailored suit. Chad has a very reassuring smile. Chad slaps Gray Guy on the back, automatically deducts his 1% management fee, and whispers the most dangerous lie in modern finance, the 4% rule. Chad tells him, "Don't worry, Gray Guy. Based on the Trinity study of 1998, you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio every single year, adjust it for inflation, and you will never ever run out of money for 30 years." Gray Guy smiles. 4% sounds incredibly scientific. It sounds mathematically safe. But why does Chad push this outdated rule? Because if Chad told Gray Guy the truth, that his $1 million is actually just a basic survival fund, Gray Guy would panic. He might pull his money out of Chad's managed funds to buy real estate or hard assets. And Chad cannot buy a new boat if he doesn't have your assets under management. They pacify you with the 4% rule to keep your capital in their casino. But Gray Guy is about to find out that this rule was built for a macroeconomic reality that has been dead for 20 years. It assumes stable bonds, predictable inflation, and a world that simply does not exist anymore. Because when we actually do the brutal, real-world math of living on 4% of $1 million today, the American dream instantly turns into a financial nightmare. Let's open up the patient and do the autopsy. Let's look at the actual mathematics of the American dream in the year 2026. Gray Guy has his $1 million. According to Chad the advisor, Wall Street, and the Sacred Trinity study, Gray Guy is allowed to withdraw exactly 4% of his portfolio in his first year of retirement, so he doesn't run out of money before he dies. Stop right there. Take out your calculator. 4% of $1 million is $40,000. Let me break the fourth wall here for a second. Look at me. I am a two-dimensional cartoon. I am an assembly of blue pixels floating in a pure white digital void. I do not have a digestive system. I do not eat groceries. I do not pay property taxes to a corrupt local municipality. I survive entirely on my creator's rendering power, electrical current, and RAM. But you are a biological organism living in a highly inflationary late-stage capitalist economy. Can you realistically live on $40,000 a year? Let's keep cutting, because that $40,000 is not free and clear. If your $1 million is sitting in a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, that money has never been taxed. And trust me, the IRS has been patiently waiting in the shadows for 40 years to take their pound of flesh. When you withdraw that 40 grand, it is treated as ordinary income. After federal taxes, state taxes, and local taxes, your wealthy $40,000 shrinks to maybe $32,000 of actual spendable cash. Divide that by 12. You are now living on exactly $2,666 a month. You are officially a millionaire, and your monthly take-home pay is less than what a shift manager makes at a fast food drive-thru. Now let's look at your expenses. Out of that $2,600, Gray Guy has to pay his Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. He has to cover his out-of-pocket healthcare deductibles, which, as we exposed in our healthcare briefing, currently average over $7,000 a year for a retired couple. Oh, and remember your house? The one you proudly paid off? The government still charges you property taxes. In places like New Jersey, Texas, or Illinois, that could easily be $800 to $1,000 a month just for the privilege of not being evicted from your own property. Add in skyrocketing homeowners, insurance, utilities, and somehow you still need to buy groceries that cost 40% more than they did just 5 years ago. Do you see the math? Suddenly, the millionaire lifestyle means clipping digital coupons. It means turning down the thermostat in the dead of winter and wearing a heavy coat inside your own living room to save $50 on the heating bill. It means laying awake at night, praying to God that your 10-year-old Honda Civic doesn't need a new transmission, because a $2,000 mechanic bill would literally bankrupt you. You are not wealthy. You are on a strict, government-monitored survival allowance. But wait, Chad the advisor jumps in. Stewie, you're scaring him. The 4% rule says Gray Guy can adjust his $40,000 withdrawal for inflation every single year. Yes, Chad, that is the theory. You increase your withdrawal by the official CPI inflation rate of maybe 3%. But the real inflation rate on the things you actually need to survive, beef, electricity, property taxes, and insulin, is completely detached from the government's fake CPI numbers. And more importantly, Chad conveniently leaves out the most terrifying mechanism in modern finance, the silent assassin that destroys more retirements than inflation and taxes combined. It is called the sequence of returns risk, or as I call it, the financial death spiral. The Trinity study, the academic paper from the 1990s that invented the 4% rule, was built on a beautiful, comforting fantasy. It assumed a smooth, predictable stock market. It assumed a spreadsheet reality where the market magically gives you a consistent, positive return every single year, like clockwork. But let's be brutally honest. The stock market is not a spreadsheet. It is a highly volatile, emotional roller coaster operated by psychopaths, high-frequency trading algorithms, and panic-selling day traders. Let me break the fourth wall again with a meta-reality check. I am a cartoon. I do not have blood pressure. I don't have a cardiovascular system. When the S&P 500 drops 20% in a single week, my frame rate stays exactly at a smooth 60 frames per second. I literally cannot feel stress because my creator didn't code a panic algorithm into my vector files. But you are flesh and bone. When you see red arrows flashing on your CNBC app and your life savings evaporating on a Tuesday morning, your brain gets flooded with cortisol. You panic. And that human panic is exactly what the sequence of returns risk feeds on. Let's walk through the nightmare scenario. Imagine Gray Guy finally retires at age 65. He pops the champagne. He books a cruise. And exactly 6 months later, a massive global recession hits. We're talking 2008 or 2020 all over again. The stock market crashes by a brutal 25%. Gray Guy's $1 million instantly drops to $750,000. Now, if Gray Guy was still working, this wouldn't matter. He would just keep his job, ignore his 401k, and wait it out. But Gray Guy is retired. Here is the fatal trap. Gray Guy still has to eat. He still has to pay his skyrocketing property taxes. He still has to pay his Medicare premiums. So he still needs to withdraw his $40,000 to survive this year. Do you see the terrifying math happening here? Because his portfolio is down 25%, Gray Guy is forced to sell his shares at rock-bottom clearance prices just to buy groceries. He has to sell 3 times as many shares just to get the exact same amount of cash. He is cannibalizing his own principal. He is literally chopping down his only apple tree to use as firewood because he is cold today. By selling those assets while the market is bleeding out in the streets, he permanently locks in those losses. Those shares are gone forever. So when the market eventually recovers 3 or 4 years later, Gray Guy's portfolio will never ever recover because he sold the very shares that were supposed to grow back and compound. This is the sequence of returns risk. The order in which your returns happen matters more than the average return itself. If a market crash happens in the first 5 years of your retirement and you are forced to sell stocks to survive, your money will literally evaporate before you hit your 80th birthday. You could do everything perfectly for 40 years, save every penny, skip every vacation, and you still end up bankrupt simply because of bad timing in the year you chose to retire. Before we get to the sniper solution, I want to ask you a question. Go to the comments right now. What was the worst financial panic you have lived through as an investor? Was it the dot-com bubble, the 2008 housing crash, the 2020 drop? Drop it in the comments below. Let's see who in the resistance has survived the worst roller coaster. Because if you don't know how to protect yourself from the next drop, the market will consume you. But the sniper doesn't panic. The sniper builds a fortress. Let me show you the bucket system. So what is the solution to this financial death spiral? Do you work until you literally drop dead at your desk? Do you liquidate your 401k, put all the cash in a duffel bag, and hide it under your mattress? Absolutely not. You have to stop playing the victim, and you have to start playing the sniper. A sniper does not rely on a magical 4% rule invented in a university laboratory in 1998. A sniper does not rely on hope. A sniper builds a fortress. Let me break the fourth wall one more time. As I said earlier, I am a cartoon character. I don't actually need a retirement strategy. If the global economy collapses tomorrow, I can just ask my animator to draw me a luxury mansion and a private jet. It takes him 5 seconds. But you are living in a 3-dimensional reality governed by the laws of physics, inflation, and the IRS. You cannot draw your way out of a recession. You have to build a system. The solution to the sequence of returns risk is a mathematical blueprint called the cash buffer system, or as it's known in the industry, the bucket strategy. Here is the exact blueprint. Instead of leaving all your life savings in one giant, unpredictable pile of stocks and crossing your fingers every time you watch the evening news, you are going to systematically separate your wealth into 2 distinct, highly specialized buckets. Bucket number 1 is the shield. This is your financial body armor. This bucket holds exactly 2 to 3 years of your basic, bare-bones living expenses. We are talking about pure, unadulterated, boring safety. I am not talking about crypto. I am not talking about tech stocks. I am talking about high-yield savings accounts, short-term treasury bills, or certificates of deposit. If you need $60,000 a year to survive, you put $120,000 to $180,000 in the shield. This money is not supposed to make you rich. It is not supposed to beat inflation by a mile. Its only job is to sit there and protect you from having to sell assets at a loss. Bucket number 2 is the engine. This holds the rest of your money. This is your diversified portfolio of broad market index funds and equities. This bucket's job is to fight inflation, compound over time, and keep your wealth growing for the next 30 years. When times are good and the stock market goes up, life is easy. You sell a little bit of the profit from the engine. You use it to refill your cash in the shield and you go play golf. But what happens when the nightmare scenario hits? What happens when a massive recession wipes 25% off the stock market? Chad, the financial advisor, is panicking. Gray Guy is crying, forced to sell his stocks at a massive loss just to keep the lights on, permanently destroying his portfolio. But the sniper? The sniper does not panic. The sniper does not even check his brokerage app. When the market crashes, the sniper simply turns to bucket number one. He lives off the safe, liquid cash in his shield for the next 2 or 3 years, completely ignoring the chaos on Wall Street. He doesn't sell a single stock at a loss. He gives his engine the exact amount of time it needs to mathematically recover from the crash. By having a cash buffer, you completely neutralize the sequence of returns risk. You take the power away from Wall Street psychopaths and you put it back in your own hands. Before we move to the final step, I want you to do an audit right now. Go to the comments. Tell me, what does your shield look like today? Do you actually have 1 or 2 years of cash sitting safely? Or is 100% of your money sitting inside the Wall Street casino right now? Be honest. Drop your answer below. Let's see who is actually prepared for the next drop. The final step of the sniper strategy is a complete and total psychological rewire. You have to stop obsessing over your net worth and start obsessing over your cash flow. Wall Street desperately wants you to focus on the big, shiny $1 million net worth number. Why? Because they charge you an assets under management fee based on the total size of your pile. The bigger your pile of illiquid assets, the more money they skim off the top. But here is the brutal truth of economics. You cannot eat net worth. You cannot walk into a grocery store and pay for a carton of eggs by showing the cashier your Zillow home estimate or the balance of a 401k. You are terrified to touch. If your wealth is completely locked up, you are functionally broke. If you want absolute financial invincibility, your singular goal must shift to yield optimization. You want to build a portfolio of high-quality dividends, treasury bonds, and real estate investment trusts that generate enough passive, liquid income to cover your baseline living expenses without ever touching the principal. You want to eat the apples, but you must vow to never, ever cut down the tree. $1 million is not the finish line. It is just the raw material. It is a block of marble. If you don't carve it correctly, the government, inflation, and the inevitable market crashes will turn it to dust before you reach your 80th birthday. We have dismantled the grand illusion today. We exposed the anchoring bias of the 1990s. We did the brutal autopsy on the $40,000 poverty line. We revealed the sequence of returns assassin, and we gave you the bucket system blueprint to build your fortress. Now the ball is in your court. It is your turn to execute. If you are ready to stop guessing and start building a bulletproof system, I want you to join the resistance. Go down to the comments right now. Do a brutal reality check. How much cash do you realistically need per month to survive in your current zip code? Not to buy a yacht, just to survive. Drop the number below. Let the algorithm and everyone else see what reality actually looks like. And if you are ready to implement the cash buffer system and protect your wealth from the next crash, type the words "I am the sniper" in the comments. But I want to talk to a very specific group of you right now. 99% of the people watching this video will nod their heads, agree with the math, close the app, and go back to doing exactly what Chad the advisor tells them to do. They will stay asleep in the matrix. But there is 1% of you who actually want to break the system. You want the deep tactics. For you, I am building something behind the scenes. I call it the Blue Stewie 1% Club. It is going to be a private tactical unit for the late starters who are ready to optimize their wealth, share intel, and execute the sniper blueprints together. I will be releasing classified briefings and direct intel on how to join this club very soon. But here is the catch. I am only giving priority access to the people who are officially part of this channel. If you want in, you need to hit the subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell. Do not miss the next briefing because the doors to the 1% Club will not stay open forever. Stop playing their game. Stop playing the victim. Start playing the sniper. I'm Blue Stewie. Stay liquid. Stay dangerous. Class dismissed.